Hey guys, my name's Caitlin. Welcome back to my channel and to another reading vlog. This isn't normally the setup that I have when I start my reading vlogs. It's normally in my bed or something, but I've just been filming a couple of recommendations videos that are going to be going up before this one, so you'll probably recognize my t-shirt. But as you can tell by the title, this video is going to be me rating my local library's romance collection. I don't know how it took me so long to figure out that my library actually had an romance collection. I swear I've looked them up before and was able to find nothing, but these look like they've been on the shelf for a long time. Most of them anyway. The collection is actually pretty big, and the amount of books that I'm borrowed, I already know that I'm going to be doing a part 2 of this video, so if you like this video, let me know down below if you want to see part 2. I have 3 books that I will be reading in this reading vlog, all of which I have never read before, some of which I haven't even heard of before, but the blurbs drew me in. At the end of this video, I'm going to add up the ratings for the books that I read and give my library a score out of 5 for their romance collection. So the books that I'm going to be reading in this video are Wicked Frat Boy Ways by Todd Gregory. Do you know how awkward I felt trying to borrow this while I was at work? We also have Truth Will Out by K.C. Wells. This is a very small paperback. And the last one is Faith and Fidelity by Tia Michaels. Tia? I don't know, I'm sorry. This is the only one that I've actually heard of out of these 3, and the only reason I've heard about it is because someone recommended it to me in a Facebook group, but I didn't actually read the blurb of it until I picked it up at work. I think the first one I'm gonna delve into is Wicked Frat Boy Ways, just because it sounds like an enemies to lovers that's set in college, right up my alley, so I'm gonna delve into this one first. So this looks rather short. How many pages have we got here? 185 pages, so definitely not that long at all. I'll read the blurb to you because it's not that long. Seniors and fraternity brothers at Beta Kappa, Brandon Benson and Phil Connor begin playing a manipulative game of love and seduction with increasingly higher stakes without a care about the damage they leave in their wake. The primary problem with the seduction game is sometimes the player's emotions can get involved, but it's too late to turn back from the destructive path. I don't know why that kinda reminded me of Beck and Jacobs from Eden Finley and Saxon James's CU Hockey series. I know it's got absolutely nothing to do with hockey, but for some reason it brought that book up in my mind. I'm going to get to reading this book and I will update you guys on my thoughts a little bit later. Okay, this is a very quick update. Did not take long to decide I am not reading this book anymore. I made it maybe 20 pages in, not even that, and the whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, what is this? And how did this get published? I was so wrong in what I thought this book was going to be about. I thought it was, you know, 2 frat brothers who kind of hated each other and fell into this game of like seduction, and then one of them fell for the other, and it was gonna be this whole thing, and that wasn't it at all. It really, like, this isn't a romance. I like skimmed through the rest of it to try and figure out what the bloody hell was happening, because I'm just like, where is this going? It's not a romance at all. It is this cruel game of seduction, and there's such vulgar language, which normally I don't care about, but this was just so, it read really toxic. It was not very good at all. Okay, I'm going to spoil this. If you don't want to be spoiled, I will leave a time up here or something that you can skip to. If you don't care about being spoiled, just keep watching. Pretty much the gist of this book that I've understood is that there are 2 guys, Brandon and Phil. They're the frat brothers. They're the main characters in this book. I thought they were going to get together because that's kind of what I got from the blurb, but I was very wrong. Pretty much what was happening is that there was an alumnus for their frat house or whatever who came in and was like, yo, homophobic shit-house story about his nephew who's gay was gonna be a priest, isn't gonna be a priest anymore, he's coming to this university. And Phil's like, I have a brilliant idea, we're going to like seduce him and what? I just didn't get it. And I was skimming through and there was some guy named Kenny and then there was some dude named Dylan, and I know one of our main characters broke up an engagement, and there was all this like big macho guy talk about, oh, you can be in love with someone and like still have sex with me, we just won't tell them about it. And I'm like, why do I want to read about you now? You're an absolute dickhead. And literally the end of the book, as far as I know, because Phil was actually making Brandon do some of these things toward the end of the book. That's what I got from skimming. I could be very wrong. But literally the last 2 pages of this book, last 2 pages, there are almost 200 pages in this book. The last 2 pages, Kenny pushes Brandon, our main character, down the stairs where he breaks his neck and dies. It just goes, oh, you know, we made it through the funeral, and then all the other characters go to Phil, who's the other main character, and they're like, oh, it's your fault he's dead. You need to resign as president of like this frat house. End of the book. What the actual hell was that? No. We're moving on. So the other 2 books that I had were Truth Will Out and Faith and Fidelity. I think I'm gonna go with Faith and Fidelity just because this is one that's been recommended to me. It's one that I've actually heard of. And after attempting to read that pile of trash that someone should light on fire, I kind of want to delve into something that I hope won't be as bad. If all these books go the same way, this is gonna be a really quick log. So the blurb of this one: reeling from the recent death of his life, police officer Evan Sorelli looks at his 4 children and can only see how he fails them. His loving wife was the caretaker and nurturer, and now the single father feels himself being crushed by the pain of loss and the heavy responsibility of raising his kids. At the urging of his partner, Evan celebrates a co-worker's retirement and meets disgraced former cop turned security consultant Matt Haight. A friendship born out of loneliness and the solace of the bottle turns out to be exactly what they both need. The past year has been a slow death for Matt Haight. Ostracized from his beloved police force, facing middle age and perpetual loneliness, Matt sees only a black hole where his future should be. When he discovers another lost soul in Evan, some of the pieces he thought he lost start to fall back into place. Their friendship turns into something deeper, but love is the last thing either man expected, and both of them struggle to reconcile their new and overwhelming feelings for one another. This does not sound like the type of book that I normally read. I'm all for an awakened sexuality. I'm generally not for one with characters that already have kids. Let's give it a go. After reading that shitstorm, I don't really have high hopes. Hopefully this is better. There's my taekwondo uniform. Let's move that. Please excuse the state of me. I just finished taekwondo and I need to have a shower. But I wanted to update you guys before I forgot. This vlog has turned into a bit of a flop, I'm not gonna lie, because I have DNF'd the 2nd book that I attempted. I made it almost to the end. Like, look at that. We are so close to the end, but I can't finish it. I'm so sorry. I know a lot of people recommended this book on the Facebook group that I'm a part of. Everyone said they loved it. I'm not one of those people. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed it until about the 200-page mark, and after reading a lot of Goodreads reviews, that seems to be the general consensus, that people really enjoyed it until it got to a certain point, and then everything just kind of went downhill from there. I was really loving it. You know, you've got 2 cops, well, 1 current cop, 1 ex-cop, who are so lonely. They come together like just as kind of drinking buddies because they both just want company, and then it evolves into something a little bit more, and they realize, hold on, I've been straight my whole life, but for some reason I'm now developing feelings for this guy. I'm seeing him as more than a friend. And it was really beautiful up until this last point, and Why did it have to go there? I contemplated pushing through. I reached this point when I was at work and it was so hard to be really just quietly fuming in the break room while I was on my lunch break because I was just so pissed at what was happening. I am going to dive into a little bit of a spoiler territory here. I'll put the time up here if you don't want to listen to it, if you still plan on reading this book. If you don't mind being spoiled, then by all means keep listening. Okay, so a little bit of a rundown. If you haven't read this book, you just don't care about being spoiled. Our main characters are Evan and Matt. They're both straight in like their 30s and 40s until they realize that they have feelings for each other after developing a bit of a friendship. Matt doesn't really have anything to lose by going into this relationship, whereas Evan, his wife passed away a year ago, not even, I don't think. He has 4 kids to look after and he's just really worried about how coming out and embracing his sexuality at this point in his life is going to affect his kids. You know, he's thinking, are they going to be treated differently because of this? Are my in-laws going to treat them differently because of this? And it's all just running in his brain and it's making him absolutely terrified, which is completely understandable. But what I hated is that he breaks up with Matt without even telling Matt anything about what's going on. And I'm like, please, lack of communication is my least favorite thing to read about in romance books. I absolutely hate it. And the fact that Evan's lack of communication drove Matt to sleep with someone else. And I read this part while I was at work and I was getting so mad and I was just fuming while sitting at the table and just looking at the book going, Matt, please don't do this, please don't do this. Matt kind of annoyed me in this part because I understand that he thought him and Evan were over and clearly we know that they're gonna get a happy ending because it's a romance book, but like it had been 2 weeks and he goes out to a bar, hooks up with another guy who's also hooked up on another guy. And the whole time it's happening, they're both like, oh, it's okay, you can pretend I'm him. Are you kidding me? And all the while this is happening, because you get to read like 6 different perspectives in this book, it's really strange. I did like how frequently they changed because you got to see kind of everyone's perspective while something was happening rather than chapter by chapter. But while Matt is getting his rocks off with another guy that he doesn't even care about solely so that we have a plot for book 2, Evan is literally in the middle of a depressive episode, sobbing on like his cop partner's shoulder. What the fuck? And I've read enough reviews to know how this book ends, so I'm not really that mad about not reading it. Pretty much the gist of it that I've gotten is that the only reason Evan and Matt actually reconcile is because one of Evan's daughters, his eldest, gets arrested. And so Matt brings her back home because she calls him from jail because she doesn't want to get in trouble by her dad. But they end up talking, they get back together. Apparently Evan doesn't even apologize to Matt for dumping him for no reason. And Matt never tells Evan that he slept with another guy while they were separated, which of course is the plot for book 3. Okay, end of spoiler section here. I didn't realize before I delved into this that this is like, I think it's a 6-book series. I will not be continuing with the series. Book 2 focuses on a character that we met in this book who I really don't like simply because of the actions that happened. But I'm pretty sure the series kind of like goes back and forth between the different relationships and the characters. I don't care. After the way this ended, I don't care. This has been a total flop. I have one more book that I was going to read for this vlog. Whoopsie daisy. And that is Truth Will Out by K.C. Wells. I did think this was like a Western type novel based on the cover, but I've heard that it is not that at all. Okay, so all I know about this one so far is that it's a murder mystery. It has pretty high ratings on Goodreads. I've also heard that it's kind of like a Hallmark movie, but book version, which I'm definitely excited to get into. So the blurb for this one, Jonathan de Mountford's visit to Merrychurch Village to stay with his uncle Dominic gets off to a bad start when Dominic fails to appear at the railway station. But when Jonathan finds him dead in his study, apparently as the result of a fall, everything changes. For one thing, Jonathan is the next in line to inherit the manor house. For another, he's not so sure it was an accident, and with the help of Mike Tattersall, the owner of the village pub, Jonathan sets out to prove his theory, if he can concentrate long enough without getting distracted by the handsome Mike. They discover an increasingly long list of people who had a reason to want Dominic dead. And when events take an unexpected turn, the amateur sleuths are left bewildered. It doesn't help that the police inspector brought in to solve the case is the last person Mike wants to see, especially when they are told to keep their noses out of police business. In Jonathan's case, that's like a red rag to a bull. Fingers crossed, this will be better than the past 2 books that I have read in this vlog. I'm not going to get my hopes up at this point. I have DNF'd 2 books in a row, which is, I haven't DNF'd a book at all this month. I've had a pretty good reading month so far, and this has just kind of ruined it. After that clip I filmed last night, I 100% fell asleep for like an hour and then could not fall asleep when I actually wanted to go to bed for the life of me. So I ended up finishing Truthful Out last night. I think I finished it maybe like 1:30 in the morning. And let me just say, this book has redeemed this vlog. I enjoyed this immensely. It was so cute. I definitely see where like the Hallmark movie reference came from. Like if you guys have ever seen those shows like Death in Paradise or what's the other one? But like those TV shows where it's this beautiful location, very touristy, everyone wants to go, it's just so nice. But then everyone just keeps dying and you're like, why do people keep going to these places? Because everyone keeps dying. This is kind of like that. Merry Church is just this very small village. Everyone is very close. Everyone knows each other's business. So when people end up dead, everyone is kind of like, who done it? But this was definitely very, very cute. The relationship between Jonathan and Mike is very slow burn. This also isn't really a spicy book at all. It's very fade to black. There are a couple of kiss scenes in there, but that's kind of it. So I feel like that just makes the intimate moments between them so much cuter because you know that that's all you're gonna get. And so just seeing them like, you know, just brushing someone's arm with their hand or a hand in the small of their back or whatever, and you're just kind of like, fangirling. I just cannot get over how much this read like a TV episode. Like I feel like every time they'd come up with a new suspect and then there would be like the commercial break and then they're like, God damn, it can't be that suspect because they have an alibi. Oh look, new suspect, commercial break. I feel like that made 0 sense, but that is totally how this played out in my head. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give this maybe like a 3.5 stars. I definitely do prefer books that have a little bit of spice in there. I'm not the biggest fan of Fade to Black. I would have loved to see a little bit more of Mike and Jonathan's relationship side because this was very heavily mystery based. And I didn't actually realize how recent of a release this is. So this only came out in 2018 and there are 2 other books in this trilogy and they each came out a year apart. So the final book only came out last year. I have already started book 2. I don't have the physical copy of it, but my library has all books in like ebook version through one of our platforms, which I'm very happy about because that means I can just start reading it ASAP. I'm already enjoying it and I have seen a few reviews saying that book 3 we get a lot more information about Mike and Jonathan's relationship. I don't know if they mean the physical side of things or just if it's like more romance focused, but I think all 3 books we do focus on a murder and then the romance is kind of taking place in the background. So I'm very excited to see what's going on. This is definitely like just a light and kind of fluffy romance despite all the murder, but I would definitely recommend this if this sounds like something you'd be interested in. I feel like there's not really a lot that can let you down in this book. It's just so sweet. It's really quick paced. Like I feel like if I didn't have to go to work, I probably could have finished this in one sitting. I said in the beginning of this video that I was gonna like tally up my ratings and see what my library's overall score out of 5 is. I don't really know if I can do that if I DNF'd the first 2 books in this vlog. Like I only finished 1 of them. Let's work out the average. 0 plus 0 plus 3.5 divided by 3 equals 1.1. There you go folks, calculator says it all. We're not gonna go by that. I just don't think I chose very good books for this reading vlog. I did have high hopes for Faith and Fidelity because I knew that so many people had loved it, but I'm glad to know at least that I'm not the only one who found like the same kind of errors in it. I'm very happy that other people seemed to agree. Wicked Frat Boy Ways I definitely knew was going to be either a hit or a major miss because it's just one of those books where you could tell straight off the bat, you're like, I'm either gonna love this or I'm really gonna hate it. And it's sad to say that I was on the really gonna hate it side of that spectrum. But anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this vlog up here. I don't think this vlog is going to be very long considering I didn't actually finish 2 out of the 3 books that I planned on reading. Whoops. So, quick summary. Wicked Frat Boy Ways by Todd Gregory. DNF, really hated it, couldn't even get past like the 20-page mark. Faith and Fidelity by Tia Michaels. I made it about 200 pages in. I think only had like 50 pages left, and then it all just crashed and burned from there. So we didn't finish that one either. And lastly, Truth Will Out by K.C. Wells, the only one that I actually finished in this vlog, rated about a 3.5 stars, and would definitely recommend if you're kind of into like small town mysteries with a little bit of romance. Pick it up. I will be continuing on with the rest of that series, but I won't be talking about them in this vlog. So if you'd like to keep kind of up to date about my thoughts on those, I'll leave the link to my Goodreads down below. I do try and leave reviews for every book that I read, even if it's only like a little paragraph. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, and hit that subscribe button down below if you'd like to see similar content. And also let me know down below if you've read any of these books, or if you plan on picking up Truth Will Out, because it's the only one that I would recommend out of this vlog. And also if you'd like to see a part 2, because I have so many more books over here that I would really love to read. You know, let me show you actually. So my library actually has a whole heap of romance. I really didn't realize how many we had. I need to go through all the pages and just kind of like flick through which ones I'd like to read. But the books we have to choose from for the next part are Base Instincts by Larissa Ione. I know this is only a novella in like a bigger series, but I'm only going to read this one because it's the only romance in that whole series, I think. We have Imago by N.R. Walker, and then Imagines as well, so books 1 and 2. I'm very keen for this one as well. Eyes Only for Me by Andrew Gray. I know that he wrote like the Fire and Ice series, but my library didn't have that one, so we picked up this one. In the Middle of Somewhere by Rome Parrish. I've had this recommended quite a few times, so I'm very keen to delve into this one. If you want to see me reading any of these books in a Rating My Library Books Part 2, then let me know down below. Like I said in the beginning of this video, my name is Caitlin. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week with another video.